Welcome to another Ymir Q&A. The next question I have is by Jonathan. It's what made you choose AWS over other similar cloud solutions? Um, the reason I chose AWS, and you'll see this a lot if you look at the kind of cloud computing space in general, is that AWS is almost synonymous with cloud computing. Um, Not just because they've been around for so long, but it's just there's so much energy and knowledge that's been done around it that it's really hard to to just switch to another platform because they're not interchangeable. Sure, like S3 is so ubiquitous now that if you look at Azure, their object storage basically shares the same API as S3 because you're just never going to get developers to switch over to Azure when they've built all this stuff using S3, which is by far the most popular AWS service. But that's really where it's coming from because it's the same thing with serverless. With serverless, Azure has Azure Functions, and I know a couple of people and I've seen a couple of articles come by that discuss things like it, but so much of the mental energy and developer focus is just on AWS Lambda. Um, it it's just it's not on the same they're not on the same scale at all, and it's really hard for me when I'm trying to learn, when I'm trying to figure out things. If you go and you make research and you can find like 5 or 6 articles at least discussing Lambda, not necessarily solving your problem, but for Azure Functions, you'll find 0 to 1. It's really problematic, but it's also just they're just synonymous. So it's really a question of focus on that brand. Like it's just so synonymous that it's really hard to get away from AWS when you're doing cloud computing. I'm not saying that in the future I might not, but support other platforms, but it's severely unlikely. Not because I don't want to. It's just they're not the same. Like there's this idea of like multi-cloud or like not having cloud dependencies and not being dependent on your cloud provider. I actually think that's complete bogus. That it's just basically other vendors that are trying to catch up and saying, well, you should have a multi-cloud solution. What happens if AWS goes down? Look, AWS goes down once every year or two. Like you just know because it takes out half the internet when it goes down. It's just not going to happen, and those services are just not the same. If all the cloud providers arrived and said, okay, we're going to have a similar API like people are doing with S3, but they're doing that with S3 because it's just the market leader and they're trying to like snatch people away. But if that's what you need to do, then do it, and then that'll make my job easier because supporting multi-cloud is like it's an impossible scenario right now because it's just the architecture is so dependent on the services available, and if the services don't behave the same way, it's just impossible to to just make the same architecture on another cloud provider. So that's really the big reason. It's just because of all the mental space used by AWS compared to all the other cloud providers is just not close at all.